Alright, and welcome back to the channel. Steuben here, and today, man, am I excited to tell you that Flaaffy, 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 Flaaffy. Just Flaaffy. One of my favorite Pokemon of all time. For those that know, I call the community the Sheep Squad. I try to keep that more on Twitch because it sounds a little bit dumb unless you know the full context of it. And most people come watch one video and then dip potato chip out of here. But for the most part, yeah, Flaaffy, Mareep, Ampharos, they're my favorite Pokemon in general. If you've ever seen the couch behind me, it's covered in Mareep and Flaaffy and Ampharos plushies, and we've given out, you know, sheep cards and whatnot at events and so on and so forth. But to see the results of the Brisbane Regional Championships in Australia, with Joel Sarati taking second place with a Flaaffy box deck, just made me super excited to cover it. I try not to always cover decks that, you know, make top cut at regionals. I always try to do my own take, but this is his list. Just I sleeved it up last night. And yeah, we're just going to go over it. So yeah, thanks for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button, as always. It really does support the content. But anyways, without further ado, let's drop into it. We are rocking a 4/4 Mareep and Flaaffy line. Here is the Mareep of choice this time. Growl, takes 20 less damage, Static Shock, whatever. There are other Mareeps, but just 70 HP just feels a little bit better in the grand scheme of things. And then we've got 4 of the Dynamotor Flaaffy. Once during your turn, you may attach a lightning energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon, and the attack Electro Ball, you're never going to use it, but you're using it for the Dynamotor. Decided to rock these to keep it more of a minimalistic look for this deck for the most part, but if you had to pick, and this is where I want you to comment down below, these are the 4 current available arts for Dynamotor. You have the Evolving Skies pre-release, you've got the Trainer Gallery from Silver Tempest, you've got the Evolving Skies normal art, and then you've got the Secret Rare from Fusion Strike. Which Flaaffy would you play in your deck? Let me know. But yeah, we're rocking the matching set here. And then continuing on into the attackers. This list played 2 copies of Snorlax with the ability Unfazed Fat. Prevent all effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. So basically, this is your Sableye out. Normally, single prize decks have a bad time against Lost Box, so being able to deal with Sableye with a Snorlax here and being able to hit 180 feels pretty good during, you know, the Unga Bunga days here. Alright, and then we've got 2 copies of Zekrom. Sorry, they don't match. Mostly going to use this here for the attack Wild Shock. 130 HP on this thing. It does 130 damage with Wild Shock. It also hurts itself for 60 and paralyzes your opponent's Pokemon. To note that even if you whiff the KO on a Lugia because of Dunsparce, so on and so forth, a lot of them don't play switch cards. That might change after the results of this and the Articuno doing really well this weekend across the Toronto regionals as well. But yeah, the Zekrom with the paralysis is pretty hype. So we're going to rock 2 copies of those. And the last 2 of that they played was Regieleki. This is from Evolving Skies. This is the Terra Spark version, the one you already played 2 copies of in your Regi deck in the first place. So we've covered that before. If you want to see a Regi deck, it's still pretty viable. Link up in the iCard. But yeah, Terra Spark for 120 for 2 lightning and a clause to discard all lightning energy. This does 40 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So this helps set up little other KOs over time, so feels really good to be able to use this here. Continuing on, we've got 1 copy of Raikou V with the ability Fleet-Footed. When it's in the active spot once per turn, you can draw a card, and the attack Lightning Rondo, 20 plus 20 more damage for each benched Pokemon, yours and your opponent's. So a full bench, you know, on your side, that's 100 damage. A full bench on their side is 100 damage, plus a 20 is 220. So enough to get through most basic V Pokemon, as well as, you know, hitting in for weakness is what this is about. We're going to abuse those Lugias, abuse those Palkias, and take them out. Next in line, we've got a Zapdos here. And this is going to help us out a little bit here. The ability Lightning Symbol. Your basic Lightning Pokemon's attacks, except any Zapdos, do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it also has an attack Electro Ball for 2 Lightning and a Colorless for 110. But for the most part, this is just going to help us get to the extra magic number of 140. In the case specifically of the Zekrom that it hits 130 already. This makes it go to 140. 140 times 2 is 280, the magic number. Next up, we have a Medicham V. This thing is kind of crazy to think about. If you whiff the KO, and then in this instance, I think they followed this up with the Lugias and the Zekrom. So they would swing with the Zekrom, hit for the 260 after the weakness would be applied, and then okay, cool, Zekrom goes down, and then all of a sudden here comes Medicham with Yoga Loop, put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If it's knocked out by that attack, take another turn. So this can really swing the favor of the game for the Flaaffy box player. Really like the tech inclusion of this. I never thought about shoving this into this deck as I've tried to play it multiple times here. But yeah, Medicham, really cool to see that come in and take a slot here. Next up, we've got Radiant Greninja. You're not going to attack with this. You're just using it for the Concealed Cards ability. Discard a Lightning Energy and draw 2 cards. So for the most part, yeah, just getting your Lightning into the discard pile and drawing cards feels pretty good. You need them in the discard pile for Flaaffy's Dynamotor anyways, so it just works out. Next, support Pokemon, we do have a copy of Crobat V for Dark Asset. By now, you should know what that does. When you bench it, draw your hand up until 6. So you can Quick Ball, Ultra Ball for this, bench it, and fill your hand back up, and potentially find whatever outs or energy, whatever else you're missing to continue on. And the last Pokemon we're rocking is a copy of Manaphy for the Wave Veil, because we need to protect our bench from Raikou, Urshifu, just all these different spread attacks in general. So to be able to protect our Flaaffys and Mareeps that all have, 70 and 90 HP in general to prevent them from taking multi-prize turns feels pretty solid, and we definitely have to rock that in here. On to the supporter count, we are playing 4 copies of Professor's Research, to discard your hand and draw 7 fresh cards. Not going to dwell on that for too long. Then we're rocking 3 copies of Serena, another newer card from Silver Tempest. You have 2 effects. You can choose one or the other. Discard up to 3 cards from your hand and then draw until you have 5, or you can gust up a Pokemon V. So it's basically just like extra bosses orders in some instances, or and then again, this is okay, I don't need this in this matchup, I don't need this in this matchup, I can discard these and draw my hand back up without discarding my entire hand. It's a very nice feeling to be able to use Serena to those regards. Then we've got 2 copies of Marnie for hand disruption. Each player shuffles their hand, puts it on the bottom of the deck. Your opponent takes 4 cards, you get 5, pretty straightforward. And of course, last but not least, 2 copies of Boss's Orders for your gusting effect on any Pokemon, not just Pokemon V, unlike Serena. And now we're going to take a look at the items. Of course, most decks, as always, play 4 copies of Quick Ball and 4 copies of Ultra Ball. This is just to discard your Lightning Energy, your unwanted attackers, tech pieces, and then search for whatever Pokemon you are missing. Then we're rocking 3 copies of Scoop Up Net, because this is a primarily single prize deck except for the Crobat, the Raikou, and the Medicham. This will let you pick up and pivot your Pokemon. So say, for example, you have to unfortunately promote something you don't want in the active to start your turn. Get up there, maybe put the Flaaffy up, use Dynamotor, scoop it up, rebench the Mareep after promoting whatever else instead. Or if you get stuck behind the Snorlax, which has a hefty retreat cost of 4, keep that in mind. Also, Zekrom has a retreat cost of 3, so if they get stuck in the active, you can just use this to pivot around them. And in terms of pivoting as well for everything else, for the Medicham, the Crobat, the Raikou, whatever, we have 2 copies of Air Balloon to reduce retreat cost by 2 to make it easier to retreat around the board. And then continuing on, we've got 2 copies of Level Ball in here. Again, 90 HP or less Pokemon. So this is for your Manaphy, your Mareep, and your Flaaffy only. So we're only playing 2 of them in addition to the other ball cards. And then getting down to the last mobility piece, we do have a copy of Escape Rope to force a switch. This works out really well, again, with just, the big chunkiness of Snorlax and everything else. You force your opponent to switch cards, and then you get to switch as well. So it's like it's like a pseudo Guzma without being able to target down something specific. And the last item card is, of course, an Ordinary Rod to put back your attackers and or energy if you need to into the deck. Shuffle up to 2 of each, or just one or the other. You can do whatever you want with this one and get them back into the deck. And finally, the stadium. Of course, we're going to play 2 copies of Stormy Mountains. This helps us set up. You can grab a Lightning or a Dragon type from your deck and put it onto your bench. In this case, you're going to grab Lightning. The only Pokemon you can't get with this are, of course, Medicham, Manaphy, Crobat, and Radiant Greninja, but it's basically an extra Pokemon search right to your bench every turn. Pretty awesome. And, of course, just bumps out other stadiums that could cause problems. But for the most part, you're pretty resilient to everything except for, say, Path to shut off, Greninja and a Crobat. And then for the energy cards, we have 2 copies of Speed Lightning. When you attach this to a Lightning type Pokemon, you draw 2 cards. Feels pretty good about that. And then we're just rocking 8 basic Lightning. I had to dig out the Ampharos energy for the vault because we got the whole line here without an Ampharos in the deck itself. We had to play these energies. These are my favorite Lightning energies. But yeah, that's the list. Again, big congrats to Joel Sarati, who got 2nd place at the Brisbane Regional Championships this past weekend in Australia with this exact list. I had to cover it. Again, like I said, I don't really love covering card for card meta decks, but we are going to look into probably the Frostmoth box with the Alolan Vulpix from Brisbane, and then a few other interesting things like the controlled variants. There's a lot of those popping up, so expect a bunch of deck profiles over the next couple of weeks as we, move into the Arlington meta after the triple weekend repeat craziness. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the video. If you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot. We're about to break over 1,800 subscribers by the time I'm recording this, so it means a lot. Also, any day now, we should have the YouTube partnership email coming through, so keep an eye out for potential options to become a member in the channel in the future to support the content and help keep the dream alive. Also, Gusto Win Podcast, we recorded the episode of that. It's here on the channel as well, or you can go listen to it on Spotify, Anchor, Amazon, Google, even, oh man, brain farting, even on iTunes. It's over there too. So yeah, that's it for me on this one. I hope you all have a good week, and yeah, much love, and I'll see you later. Peace out.